All right, we are filming here today, even though this is normally I'm using my computer filming spot because I am sickly and this is more comfortable. And I'm going to film another video after this where it'd be nice to have my computer. So hopefully this lighting has been fine for you guys. I've been liking it. And I like sitting in a chair. This is novel to me. And my bookshelves, I think, still look very pretty in the background. At least to me, I'm very partial to them. So we're going with it today. And also I think part of it's like, I've been kind of dragging my feet on this wrap up. Not that I think it was a fairly strong reading month, if I'm being honest. But it was a month that never ended, but I also somehow truly did not read as much as I thought I did. And part of that is some books are way longer. Another part was I really did let myself relax during my week off and I wasn't pushing myself to do more than I wanted. Another is that some of my reading is still this book I haven't finished yet. So I already can feel April I'm going to have more to talk about because I've been challenging myself and pushing myself, which is why I think I was in the mood for reading challenges if you saw my TBR for the month. But we're going to get into it. I think I'll leave my favorite new thing for the end. And maybe we'll start with rereads and we'll go around from there. I mean, I'm not going to put things into group, but I think there are some things that naturally group themselves together. So let's start with the rereads. I reread Words of Radiance. I loved it. It's one of my favorite books of all time, which is the most cliched thing to say on BookTube. But I've loved that book since I read it in 2014. What do you want from me? I've loved that book for 10 years. I have read it 4 times. Yeah, I've read it 4 times. This time I actually read it almost primarily on audiobook, so that was new. And I surprisingly really liked it. I get nervous when I do these with audio because I read so much Wheel of Time with these audio narrators, and sometimes it's please don't use the Matt Coffin voice. Please. I hate that character. But understandably, there are audio narrators. They only have so many voices. But it really worked for me. I think, and it was interesting because I was reading this when he announced the backer kit for the Words of Radiance. And he brought up that he thinks that maybe this is people's favorite books because there's a lot of agency that characters get in this book that they purposefully do not get in Way of Kings. And I never thought of it that way. And I do think there is a little bit of that. And it's also where stress starts to come in for me, especially with Shallan. I'm just are you making the right choices? Are you? Especially with Kaladin. So when characters are allowed to make their own choices, I get stressed, but then it also leads to some of the most iconic scenes that I have ever consumed. For the most part, I don't really want visually adapted media for Stormlight. If it happened, it happened. I would, of course, consume it and hope that it was good. But there are some scenes in Words of Radiance where I'm oh, if that's a TV show, they could never cut that. This is obviously you would have to cut a lot, realistically. So yeah, that was a fun time. I also reread another sequel, The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I love this book so much. I love it so much. You follow Ori, who is a blind artist in the city that lies beneath Sky, which is where we first are exploring in this world in the 100,000 Kingdoms. This is 10 years after the events of the 100,000 Kingdoms. And so globally things have changed that I will not discuss because it's a spoiler for the end of the first book. But we are dealing with that global change with our character Ori, and she's unique because she's blind, but she can see magic, or at least she has a visual internal interpretation for magic when it's around her, which means she can interact with the world differently than other people. And she learns some secrets about herself, which is very similar to the first book, which is kind of fun. And there's a character that gets introduced in this book that I really love. And I love this slow coming together of these two individuals. She finds this homeless man in an alleyway, and he is top tier grump. Okay, doesn't even talk to her, and you don't really know a lot about him. You probably do know a bit more after reading the first book, but I'm being very vague about it to not spoil the first book, and maybe not spoil your experience for the second book if you really don't catch on the clues. It is revealed within 30%, but still. And their friendship, it's their trust, how they form connections. It's so well done. I love the adult relationships that Jemisin explores. So yeah, and then the ending is just it hurts. The ending hurts in the best ways. So this one's definitely usually my favorite in this trilogy. It's just, it just continues on with the exploration of this world, but I think it's more solidly character driven. When I was buddy reading this with Laura, it's I love being in the day-to-day life of Ori. I know there's actual drama afoot because I guess the plot of this is someone is killed, and it's very important that they figure out who and how they are killed, or else really bad things are going to happen. This is me being very vague, because again, don't want to spoil the global events of the first book. But yeah, it's great. And then it has a narrative framing device that I really love, because I love narrative framing devices. This one's not as jarring as the first book, and the narrator is still really good. Although, I think I liked her more in the first book. Like, I just noticed her range more. In this one, it was perfectly fine. Like, she didn't bother me. But in the first book, I feel like she enhanced my experience. Whereas here, it was just, like, nice because I needed an audiobook to read it. All right, and now we'll get into the fantasy horror that I read. Not that these were really horror, but they got some creepy aesthetics to them. Starting with The Tainted Cup. And this is the new Robert Jackson Bennett, and he loves mysteries. And I really, I knew that because I've read his Divine Cities trilogy. Is that what they're called? Like, City of Stairs, City of Blades, and then City of Miracles. Those 3 books. And they all have, like, a mystery component. And then the Foundry side is more heist-driven. In this one, he truly is showing his love for, like, Agatha Christie, Wattsian stories. We have a detective and the apprentice, and they have a weird dynamic, and, the main detective is, like, really good at being deductive and connecting dots. So we have that trope built in. So mystery part, we all know I'm weird. I don't know why, but the intrigue of a mystery, like, it's meant to be intriguing as a genre, does not typically land for me in written media. I don't know why. And that was not dissimilar here. I thought it was still well executed, but, like, the moments I liked in this book, the things I liked were the interactions between the detective and our main character, who's, like, the Watson of the two. I loved that just because, like, I just think that their interactions were fun. I liked hearing them talk and think and discuss who they were. That's just more interesting to me. The world is really cool. I'm hoping in later books that we will learn more about the world, but also Robert Jackson Bennett loves making cool worlds, but not necessarily, like, really explaining them. It's always very clear that he has it well fleshed out, but, like, the story he's giving us is not just, here's a cool world I want to show you. It's, I've built this world and I'm putting this type of story in the world, right? So I don't know if I'll ever get more, but it's one of those types of societies where you have different rings and the outer rings are more in peril. And the thing we're in peril for are essentially like these kaijus, essentially. And that's really cool. Like, anything that reminds me of Pacific Rim. And they have a fascinating relationship with wildlife, like the plant and fungi relationship with people and how they use those genetics to also tweak and modify people. Really cool. So there's a lot of cool world building. I liked the character interactions there. But otherwise, it was, like, not as good as I wanted it to be. Like, I love other Robert Jackson Bennett more, and ironically, this is the one I own. The other ones I don't own. So we'll see how it goes. Like, I mean, I truly didn't dislike it, and I think part of it is, like, this is the most aggressively genre mystery of anything else that I've read by him. And it did have a very fun world. It did. But we didn't really unpack that because it wasn't, like, the point, which is not the book's fault. Like, that's a me issue. And then similarly, I did read the Clockwork War 1 and 2, which is, I think, the beginning in this, like, whole T. Kingfisher universe that I can't remember the name of, White Rat or something. I don't know if I'm making that up. But this is Clockwork Boys and Wonder Engine. We'll just talk about them together. I already briefly mentioned in a Friday Reads, yeah, it's the first half of a story, but, like, its arc is completed. It's the quest. Okay, the first book is the quest. We have to go from A to B. We have to get the team together. Is a quest. And on the quest, things go afoot. And there is a romance component, or at least the will they, won't they component to it all. I like the first book a lot. I think I was more annoyed in Wonder Engine than I wanted to be. We have this main character, Slate. She's in her 30s. She's had a marriage before. It's fairly clear that she has trust issues. But, like, that's not actually where the issues come in the romance, or her trust issues. It's more that, like, she gets annoyed that the love interest is true to his personality. Like, I don't know. It was so weird when she would choose to be annoyed by him. And it just felt truly contrived at times. And I was just like, I don't get it. And it bothered me. So this is probably the romance of all the T. Kingfishers I've read that I've liked the least. Just because I think Slate was, like, just being unreasonable, and, like, maybe it is realistic, I don't know, but it wasn't fun for me. Like that's all I can say with certainty is I wasn't having fun with that. And I think that's why it took me so long to read Wonder Engine, because then whenever I was in her perspective, all she could think about is how he says the wrong things and how, like, basically she thinks that he looks down on her because she is a woman and needs too much protection or something like that, which is not actually what happened. Like, she's making excuses because she doesn't want, I don't know, it's, from afar, it was really weird. I didn't like it. There was a twist in Wonder Engine that I really liked, that I probably should have seen coming, but I didn't, and so I really liked that. I thought, like, so in that first book I also liked more because I thought the world was so much darker and more unsettling, and a lot of that I think went away in Wonder Engine. So we have this blight. I love a blight. Blights in books are great. Like, where's this coming from? And then we also have these Clockwork boys, which are these horrible engines of war, and we don't know where they're coming from, and we don't know why. And like, as they're traveling to go to this place to try and accomplish their task, which is an impossible task. I love an impossible mission. We see all these things, and it's just this sense of dread and foreboding, and none of that really ever gets, like, the stakes never rise above that, and it feels like we had a lot of easy answers in the second book, and I don't know. I just feel like Wonder Engine was not as good of a finale for me as Clockwork Boys, and I'm curious to see how other series for me work for T. Kingfisher, because I've mainly only read her short stories and standalones. This is my first time reading a series, and she's generally really good at writing tight, short thoughts. So maybe as she gets to expand them out longer, they work less for me. Maybe this is just a one-off. I don't know. Like, I didn't dislike it. It's just that I really liked Clockwork Boys, and I was dragging my feet to finish Wonder Engine. So I don't really know what was happening there. And I know for many people, Wonder Engine, like, they really needed that to feel complete after Clockwork Boys. And I don't know. I just feel like there were more elements that I enjoyed in the first half of the installment. So if I think of it as one whole book, it's like a 3.5 star, maybe a low 4, that sort of thing. Okay, so next thing to talk about, Into the Riverlands. I'm trying to work on reading some of the novellas that I might care to for the Nebula and the Hugo, and they both have Mammoth at the Gates, so I need to read Into the Riverlands. So I listened to the audiobook for this, and it was nice. I do wonder if I should have read it with my eyes, which just kind of bothers me because it's like a storyteller thing, so it should work well in audio, and like the narrator's completely fine. And I listened to it while I was making like a chili dinner, and I don't know, I think because it was so action-based at times, I lost track of stuff, which would have happened with my eyeballs too. And this has been happening to me a lot lately with my reading. Like, if there's an action scene on the page, I just space out. Like, I just can't. And I don't know if that's just my brain doesn't have the processing power to come up with whatever I normally do because I don't visualize when I read. I don't know. So this one, they're traveling. They are a cleric who collects stories, and they're traveling, and they meet up with some people, and they're learning local stories. And there's this impression that these people that they're traveling with are more than what they seem. And then they find out these long-thought gone bandits might be in the forests. What shall we do in the Riverlands? And it's fun. It's a fun time. But definitely, like, I forgot I'd read this. Like, I forgot. Like, I was looking through the books, like, I feel like I read more, and, like, I just forgotten to track it on Storygraph, because beginning of this video, been trash about doing that. It's like, oh yeah, I did read that. Just completely left my head. So, definitely not my favorite in the Singing Hills cycle. I think the first one is still solidly my favorite. And then my favorite book of the month, I'm sure, comes as no surprise, unless you just forgot that I read this in March, which, fair, the month took forever. And that's Too Like the Lightning. So good. This is probably, I haven't done like my thoughts for the first quarter yet or anything, but this might be my most, like my favorite book of the first quarter. Like, oh my goodness, was it so good. It gave me 5-star feels like right away. It lulled for like a second, but then the ending. Oh. Okay, so when I talk about this, the nicest way I can recommend it is try it, and you'll know right away if you'll like it or not. Like, it's very writing style based if people connect to it or don't connect to it. It's got a very interesting narrative framework. It's fourth wall breaking. It's a very ideas and world building focused book. So there are interesting characters to follow, but character connection is going to be lacking. So if you're not carried by the themes, the writing style, or the intrigue of the story, like if none of those are strong enough for you, you'll know fairly early on if it is strong enough. It's just not going to be your type of book, which is totally fine. For me, eating it up the entire time. And I need to pick up the sequel soon. I'm trying to finish up a project I'm working on, and then I want to dive into it because this was so good. I'm just so excited that it worked for me. And this is not a actual like read-alike, but a lot of people who have been reading in the Patreon have also read Chorus of Dragons, and a lot of us are like, they're not the same. Chorus of Dragons is so much more character-driven. Like, you have characters that you root for and that you love in Chorus of Dragons. Like I said, it's really not the case here. But in terms of, like, you're thrown into a new world that you get to explore and piece things together and try and figure out why is this important to who and where are we going, that nebulous, comforting confusion is present in both and something that we all kind of enjoy. So, yeah, I'm just excited for the second book. So those are all the things I read. Like I said, it really wasn't that much. I mean, pretty sure I didn't miss anything. Maybe I did. I don't know. Like I said, been really bad at tracking things, but I've already read 2 things in April, so I'm doing better. I've also DNF'd something. I'm trying to be better at DNFing. I'm trying to decide if I need to DNF my current read. It's so hard. I feel like I'm just very ambivalent and like, I don't know what I want. If I could just figure out what I want. Mood readers, how do you do it? How? If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, I don't know. Leave a gear? Are there gears? Anything mechanical or gear-like? Maybe a wrench, I don't know, for Wonder Engine. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!